Adrian Fernandez, who won the tragedy-marred race on the streets of Toronto, Canada, leading Stefan Johansson in the Alumex-sponsored car for Tony Bettenhausen.
Bob, a guy that's also having a good run, who seems to have taken advantage of stuff and had an early off, is Robbie Gordon, who seems to be the man in the news at the moment. And he's having one of his best runs of late, running in fourth.
We see Parker Johnstone, whose team, Bricks Racing Comtech Motorsports, did no testing at this racetrack. A modestly budgeted operation. They have had great results this year, but the lack of testing has hurt them this weekend at Road America. He's running 2 positions behind Adrian Fernandez in 6th. Fernandez, the highest ranked Honda-powered car in the field right now, behind Mercedes, 3 Fords, and another Mercedes in the person of Bobby Rahal. Let's get down to the pit lane.
We just saw Paul Tracy come through and drive through the pit lane. The reason is that is the 1996 version of a stop and go. You do not actually have to come in and come to a complete stop. The reason? A penalty for passing Max Papis on the restart. That's also new for 1996. You may not improve your position until you cross the start-finish line on a restart. And with the EDS timing and scoring, all they have to do, as far as the chief steward is concerned, is look at the monitor and see if anyone improved position.
Thank you, Jan. The upper left, you see the running order as we begin counting down the laps into the second half of this race. Points leader Jimmy Vasser back in 11th place.
I think that is a very good rule, because sometimes they just had the 1 lap where the stop and go was a pretty severe penalty. I think that was a good call, because some penalties aren't quite as severe as others. I'll tell you, Dennis Swan's had, who's our new chief steward today, he's had a full day of it so far, and we're only halfway into this race.
Dennis Swan in his maiden voyage, so to speak, as the chief steward of the race. As chief steward designate, he has been working qualifying throughout the year. So he is very experienced, and he has really had a workout today.
Dennis Swan, of course, was a crew chief for the Doug Shearson team, and he was my crew chief my first full year in IndyCar racing. Won 3 races with him. Great crew chief, and he also had Al Unser Jr. He won a lot of races with him. He's very experienced and very knowledgeable.
Al Unser Jr. out front in the Penske with Mercedes power and Goodyear tires. Down in the pit lane, there's more on the Davey Jones story after that huge crash under the bridge at turn 13. Here's Jan Bikas.
And the really good news is, not only is he almost breaking a smile, but you no longer have the neck collar. You get out checked okay in the medical center.
Yeah, you know, they just want to be real cautious, and you know, anytime that you get upside down or have an impact, they want to make sure that everything's okay. It's just unfortunate what happened, because I think that we really started coming around with the balance of the car, and I felt that I had a good race car, and we were good on the fuel, and everything was just starting to settle down. It was just unfortunate what happened.
Now tell me, Rick Ellis told us a little bit about it, but how did it actually get caught in the sand trap and flip over?
Well, actually, you know, there was yellows in the corner, and there was a lot of dust, and the car in front of me had gone off and came back on, and it dragged a lot of dirt onto the surface. And I'd known that there was a full course yellow, but you've got to catch up to the pack. And when I went through the dirt, it just broke traction, and it kicked me off. You know, I thought I saved it, but I got into the grass, and the rear touched the wall, and then it smacked the front into the wall. And as the car rode down the wall, I went head on into the tire barrier, and that just slowly rolled me over.
Now, I assume that you know and appreciate that you're a very lucky individual today.
Well, last time I was here, I ended up on my head as well. So, you know, I want to come back and win here. I don't particularly like ending up upside down. But, you know, I just got to say that Delco Electronics, Vitab, and Unidial will get there.
Davey Jones, thankfully, he's fine, guys.
All right, thank you, Jan. I remember that crash Davey's talking about in a BMW prototype in the IMSA GTP series. Now, here's one of the All-American Racers Toyotas. That is P.J. Jones, who is parked. This is just at the exit to the carousel on the backside of the racetrack, about as far from the pits as he could possibly be.
Yeah, but Bob, that's a very dangerous spot. I mean, he should have just pulled it off there. I know he wants to get a tow back, but you should have pulled it off. That's a dangerous spot for people racing, and I'm sure that IndyCar is going to have a word. Look how fast those guys are going. They're going by in there at 180 miles an hour, right on the outside. I mean, if he had pulled just off the grass, they still could have towed him back.
Well, there he sits.
And that can't be a very comfortable feeling with those guys going by. Look at this. Michael Andretti is right behind Christian Fittipaldi for second spot.
And leader Al Unser Jr. just ahead. We'll take this opportunity to step aside for a moment, but there's plenty of racing still to come. Live from Road America, Al Unser Jr. out front at the Texaco Havoline 200. Back live at Road America. Bob Varsha, Danny Sullivan with you. You are a passenger on our Honda Helicam high above Road America. Down in the pit lane, Marty Reed and Jan Beekes covering the pit action, and there has been plenty through the first half of this 50-lap race. See the jammed parking lots, fans almost all the way around the circuit. There are areas into which spectators are not allowed, and now we have an official estimate of the crowd, 85,000 strong, and that is a new record for this race.
And you know what's interesting? We've had all this action, which we've been talking about, yet at the front of the field, we're having a great race. Al Unser Jr., Christian Fittipaldi, Michael Andretti, they're all running right there, almost nose to tail. They got a couple of car lengths between each one of them.
You ride with Bobby Rahal in fourth position right now. He got around Robbie Gordon a moment ago and heads into the carousel with leader Al Unser Jr., Christian Fittipaldi, and Michael Andretti all ahead of him. Jan Beekes is standing by in the pit lane.
Yes, and we're with Greg Moore, who's made his way back to his trailer, had a chance to change. Tell us your interpretation of when you and Andre got into trouble on the back straight.
Well, I mean, it was pretty simple. I mean, Andre, he passed me pure and simple in the back straightaway, and a couple laps later, he got real sideways coming out of the carousel. You know, I had a good run on him going down through the kink. I did the kink flat, and I got completely beside him. And then it's a sort of a you know, nice long turning straightaway, and instead of turning, he just put me straight into the fence about 190 miles an hour.
Now, I talked to him, and his interpretation was that Greg tried to pass me in a place he wouldn't try and pass. Is that a similar place to where he passed you earlier?
Well, no, it's not a similar place to where he passed me, but I mean, all weekend everyone's been running side by side through there. I mean, if you're in a slow lap, you let somebody by on that side because it's the inside for Canada corner there, and you know, he just didn't want to let me by, obviously, and he just put me straight into the fence.
Now, I know after Mid-Ohio, there's a little bit of bad blood because he feels that you came in and hit him at Mid-Ohio. Do you actually feel that he did that on purpose to squeeze you across?
Well, I don't know, but I mean, the guy just must be an idiot to be doing that at 190 miles an hour. It's something you don't do. I mean, you know, I talked to Mark Blundell. You know, I mean, Andre's out there on a mission today, and you know, it's too bad that things like this happen for the whole players team because we were running strong. We were just following Al around, and now I look, and Junior's leading the race. So I think we could have been there.
He said the track was slick. Is that correct? Is it slick offline?
No, not really. I mean, it was slick where I was in the fence, but no, I mean, the track seems like it's pretty good.
Greg Moore, he went for a wild ride, and as you can see, big difference of opinion down here on pit road.
It was ever thus. Al Unser Jr. It's been 15 races since Al Jr. has won a race. Right now, he is out front with a long way to go in Wisconsin. Welcome back to Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and the Texaco Havoline 200 live here on ESPN. The first of 3 races to wind up the '96 season, and they were all coming your way on ESPN. With the championship to be crowned somewhere down the road, it won't happen today. There is race leader Al Unser Jr., followed by Christian Fittipaldi and Michael Andretti, the Newman Haas teammates. Points leader Jimmy Vasser is back in 10th spot, and so if the points were to be awarded at this moment, Al Unser Jr. and Jimmy Vasser would be tied for the championship.
Bob, there's a whole lot of racing left to go, but I think what's going to come up right now, when they make these pit stops, these are critical. These teams, Newman Haas and Penske, have got some of the best pit crews out there. These guys are spot on. But last time Christian Fittipaldi stopped, Michael Andretti got out in front of him. So this is going to be a critical spot. This race can be won or lost right here when they come in the pits.
Across from our announce position of the Newman Haas pits, and you can see the guys huddled like a basketball team before the tip-off, and you can imagine what they're saying to one another. We have to get this absolutely right.
Not only that, they know that there's an inter-team rivalry as well. Don't forget, they want to launch Michael from 3rd to 2nd, and Christian's guys want to keep him there, and they both are trying to beat Penske.
And on the last pit stop, which they made together, Michael's team got him out ahead of Christian. On the backside, the sound of these engines revving to 14,000 RPM and more, rattling off the trees, is absolutely mesmerizing. You can hear it from all the way to Elkhart Lake Village, a village of about 1,000 people, which once hosted races that ran around Elkhart Lake and through the village. When the fatal accidents came at Watkins Glen, another famous sports car street race, City Fathers decided perhaps what they needed was a purpose-built.
There they go. They're in the pits.
We go.
That's Christian right in front of them. So Christian will get in first. Michael will get there.
Marty Reed is in the Newman Haas pits.
Yeah, the thing that's going to be interesting is they are making absolutely no changes to Christian's car, but they may make a wing adjustment on Michael. He called in and said that he was going to, he had a push problem and he wanted to, but yes, so they are putting a full turn in the left front of the wing. Now it's a race to see who's going to get out first. Jan, they're on their way. And Allington Jr. has all 4 tires. He's just waiting for the last bit of fuel. 14.79 seconds. Marty, what's going on down there?
Michael almost got hit going out of the pits. Vassar and Pruitt, all 3 came together. It was very close. I don't think anybody touched, but it was a wild moment.
Just as the Newman Haas teammates were leaving at full hammer, Scott Pruitt and another car, I didn't notice who it was, came into the pits. Michael Andretti got sideways, and people were leaping over the wall in every direction.
That was Jimmy Vassar. That was the championship point leader. They all came very close.
Now watch these pits. Michael gets out at 14.2, Christian 15.3. They leave essentially together.
Look at that.
It's Vassar. What a moment.
Oh, I'm telling you, that was close. And that's a very wide pit down there. They had like almost 3 abreast through there. Oh, I wonder how Michael's heart is right now.
I wonder what's being said on the radios right now.
Or what Jimmy's was, because he's still fighting for that championship.
Well, Michael's was the fastest of the 3 stops. Andretti, Fittipaldi, and Unser Jr. Let's take a look from Michael Andretti's onboard camera at the final moments of that pit stop.
Okay, he's anxious. You can tell this. He's getting ready to go. He's going to beat Christian. There he goes. He's trying to stand out. No. Oh, and he got there.
And Vassar almost collided with Christian Fittipaldi up ahead.
And you know what's amazing about all that is all those pit crew guys are standing out there while all this is going on, trying to give their driver the best possible pit stop. That was close.
Also down in the pit lane was Marty Reed.
Guys, I was out here, and when you asked what happened and what was said on the radio, well, I asked Kathy Lauterbach, who handles all the PR for the team. She says, I don't think I can repeat that.
35 laps complete now as you ride with Michael Andretti. Warming up the tires, getting back up to full speed. Jan Bikas has more on Robbie Gordon. Is that correct, Jan?
Yes, I do. Robbie Gordon came in, and the screaming you're hearing in the background is that Brian Herta just made his stop. We were running in between the 2 cars. It turns out that Robbie Gordon had a very long stop. The alternator had failed on the car, and they had to change the battery. So he came in, I believe, in 4th place. Now Robbie Gordon is totally out of it. 14th position.
Boy, I tell you, Derek Walker Racing, those guys cannot get a break. Every time they've got a good result going, something happens. Robbie's had a few offs, or they have something break like that. But you know what? Those guys will come back.
Absolutely. Derek Walker working hard for 1997 already, even though he will lose his driver Robbie Gordon to Winston Cup competition. Now from overhead, here is that Newman Haas pit exit once again. And the guy at the nose of the car has to make a split-second